104.5 The Team, Levac and Wolf. We're joined by Andy Serling, or as I call him, the bank teller, because he totally helped me cash in during the Preakness. You said cherry wine. We had Gary Contessa on. He said Stradivari. I put those together with Exaggerator and Nyquist, and I won all the things, Andy. So let me just start by saying, you the man.
Well, you know what they say about a broken clock. The guys that had me on enough, I was eventually going to pick a winner, but I appreciate it.
We had Chris Kay on, the CEO and president of NYRA, and I told him, I was like, Andy nailed it. And he goes, can we not tell him that? He's hard enough to deal with already.
Well, you know, Chris is just going to have to live with that.
All right, so...
Chris 5 6, I didn't tell him to bet it.
Oh, that would explain. All right, well then
I would have.
Well, he should be listening to the show, right, Andy? I mean, it's his fault.
I think everybody's listening to the show, whether they admit it or not.
I see. I like to feel that way too. Andy Serling of NYRA, the man who helped me outpick our in-house air quote experts, and that for that reason I am in his debt, or at least owe him a beer. Andy, we're getting ready for the Belmont. What are the chief things that we need to pay attention to for Belmont Saturday?
It's interesting to me. In general, in the Belmont, you want horses that at least have some tactical speed. Just because it's a long race doesn't mean that the closers necessarily figure to do particularly well. And it's a funny race because, in general, if you look at the PVs, most of the horses look very similar. They're horses that come from way, way back. And the horses that have tactical speed are both the Todd Pletcher's horses, Destin, as well as Stradivari. I don't think Governor Malibu is going to be that far out of it. One of the long shots for Dallas Stewart will be relatively close. And to me, Exaggerator is sort of middle of the pack. He's not a deep closer, especially this distance. And, you know, the first decision you have to make is what are you going to do with Exaggerator? And, you know, if you're playing pick fours, your multi-race bets, you have to use him because you can't let him win and not cash. But I think from a value standpoint, he's a lousy bet. You know, you and I cashed on him last time in the Preakness. We got the money when he was in a very, very opportune situation. And I don't think it's going to be a bad situation for him, but I don't know that it's going to be a great situation for him, and I don't know that he necessarily wants a mile and a half. So, you know, the mile and a half, the distance is a great equalizer. It's going to help and hurt horses alike. It doesn't play favorites. And so for that reason, I think a horse like that, the favorite, is sort of by its very nature an underlay. So while I use him, I'm going to try to beat him, and I like both the Todd Pletcher's horses in here. Now, Stradivari would have been my choice if Gettysburg hadn't run, and he's effectively a rabbit for creator, and he'll work as a rabbit, you know, a sports running out in front early to ensure a fast pace to help the deep closers. Whereas Stradivari would have been able to practice control on the front end. Now he's going to deal with that horse, and I still think he can win. But I like Destin a little bit more. I think Destin is a talented horse who was hurt by their decision to not run him for 2 months leading the Derby. I still think he ran okay in the Derby. I think he'll be well placed in this race, but not compromised by the rabbit. He's going to be 5 or 6 to 1, and that's a fair enough price for me to take on a horse that I know in his good race is fast enough.
Andy Serling of NYRA with us right here on 104.5 The Team, Levac and Wolf. Andy, the absence of Nyquist, what effect will that have on this race?
Yeah, I think obviously it becomes a bigger story if you get the Derby and the Preakness winner meeting up. But you know what? I hate to say it, and as much as we love Nyquist, he's a terrific horse, you know, we're in the race track, we're dealing with what's in front of us, not what's behind us. And he's not running, unfortunately, but that's okay. The race will still be fun. It's a great day of racing. The thing is, with all the additional races we've added and moved races around, when you think about the day, the Belmont Stakes is obviously the big event. It's always going to be the big event, but the whole day has become a giant event. And there's so many good races on the card that I think it outshines the fact that Nyquist isn't here with the Met Mile, which is a terrific race, and the Manhattan, the race before it. And just we've got 6 grade ones, a whole slew of stakes, a lot of big fields. There's so much going on. It's like a mid-year Breeders' Cup. That the fact that Nyquist is not here, it's just not a story anymore. And maybe Nyquist and Exaggerator will meet up in the Travers, and that'll be a big story that day.
We got Andy Serling with us, and Andy, you said a broken clock is right twice a day, and I can verify that you were right twice during the Preakness, because in the race before, you had me take Takeover Target, and with those two together, I salvaged my entire day. So you looked like you had a crystal ball going into the Preakness, going into the Belmont with all these Grade 1 stakes and everything. Is there any other races you're really looking at that you really like Takeover Target?
Yeah, I'm really excited about the Met Mile. I think the Met Mile is a really, really interesting race. And I'm very interested in betting a couple of horses. One is Donworth, who I prefer. And Donworth has gotten some very bad rides, and particularly in his last race where he lost to Stanford's in this race. Unfortunately, the same rider's still on him, but I'm going to hope for the best. I also think Upstart is a long shot and has a real chance. I'm going to use 3 horses in the Met Mile. I'm going to use Donworth, Upstart, and Amise Flatter. They're the 3, 6, and 8. And I really like their chances. So I'm going to bet on the 3 to win and play some exactas with them. I'm looking forward to that race a lot. I also have another horse, the Woody Stevens. I like Seymour Deeney in the Woody Stevens. I'm not sure which race it is, but I like Seymour Deeney.
Oh, Andy Serling with us right here, 104.5 The Team, Levack and Wolf.
Andy, a little historical perspective on the Belmont. Do you ever think the track record of 224 set by Secretariat over 30 years ago will ever be broken?
Well, it's pretty unlikely because we barely had a race, a performance that's come within 2 seconds of it. So we've never even come close to it. And track records are really a function of obviously talented horses, but also the racetracks. And I think at that time period, the Belmont track would get very hard and fast. And in these days, you're not going to see a track that gets scraped like that. It's much more safe where we are now. So you're not going to likely to get a track that's as fast as that day was. And frankly, you're not likely to get a horse that's as good as Secretariat, especially at 1.5 miles.
Andy Serling with us of NYRA, the man who has padded my bank account, and for which reason I love him more than anyone else in this room, and by at least double. Andy, so just to recap the Belmont real quick, I got a Destin. I'm throwing an exaggerator for my exotics. Anybody else I really want to make sure I don't lose out on?
Yeah, I would use Stradivari. I picked the race Destin over Stradivari over Exaggerator, 2, 5, 11. I like both of Todd Pletcher's horses. I just prefer Destin of the two. Todd Pletcher's really done well in this race. Over the last 10 years, he's performed extremely well. And while he hasn't had a great record in the Derby, he has an exceptional record in the Belmont Stakes.
Andy Serling. All right, so Andy, I'm going to let you get back to your crystal ball because, like you said, we got Travers, we got Saratoga coming up. I'm going to keep using you because I feel like the hot streak is on, my friend. It's Hope Week for the Yankees and for Levack as long as I got Serling in my corner.
Well, I appreciate that. I just want to make sure you're betting on NYRA.com. As long as you're betting on NYRA.com, it's going to be NYRA Bets. The whole country can sign up. Everyone, you don't have to be in New York State starting at the beginning of July, getting ready for Saratoga, so we want everybody involved. As long as you're betting, I'll keep giving you winners. Otherwise, there's going to be a problem.
See, one more great tip. He always has an extra great tip, Wolf.
I had no idea there was even any place else worth betting at.
It's true because you can watch all the races in high definition, right. And they almost always have some great promotion going on. So it's always, if you haven't started at NYRA.com yet, every single race is the great time to get started.
I agree. Check out NYRA.com. You can watch the races and do anything you want. Gentlemen, it's great talking to you.
Andy, thank you so much, and I promise that if you're not as genius this time as you were in the Preakness, I won't throw a fit.
I don't mind if you do. You can abuse me next time. It's fine.
Thanks, Andy.
All right, Andy, we celebrate next time. Later, man.